Lenin Ablat Gemara. We're learning now that the Shmuel holder Yadayim She'ei Mechichas is not below Yadayim. You need Yadayim Mechichas. It has to be clear, even though it's a handle incomplete, but it has to be clear what you're trying to say. And we find that Abaye and Rabbi have the same argument. And then we tried to say that Abaye, and we thought that the argument is based on the Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda regarding the get, and then both of them say that get is different. According to Abaye, get is much stricter. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. You need a time of chichis because the Torah says safer krisis. According to Rabbi, get is much more lenient because you're giving a document and nobody divorces somebody else's wife. So Meisha has a question. Harehu halai. If you say this is on me, harei ze alai. You say this is on me. Asur, it's asur. Why is it asur? This is considered a yad of a neder, and why is it asur? He says not because it's a yad of a neder, but because neishahu yad lekarban. This is considered the yad of a karban. And even though if he wouldn't have said the word alai, he could have just said hareyu. It would be a dayim she'ei mechiach. But it seems to me that only we said harehu alai, hareza alai. No, you actually have to spell out. It comes to yadayim mechiach. Because it's considered the handle of a karban. So it seems from here, time, the only reason why it's a valid neder is because the Amar, he added the word alai upon me. In other words, he turned it into a yadayim mechiach. It's clear what you're trying to say. That's why it's awesome. Avaloi Amar alai. If you just said harehu, harezeh, then it's an incomplete sentence, and it's not so clear what you're trying to say about it. So that's yadayim she'ei mechiach. And it seems then it's not a valid neder. It's not a kashan abayit. Loi, so you've done a kashan abayit. Amalach Abaye will answer you back. No, he says, time. You know what it means over here when we answer we had to add the word alai. Who the asr? Because if he said harehu, well, Amar alai, if he would not have said alai, it's not just Yadayim Shem Mechiach. We actually have no idea what he meant. Maybe harei the hefker, maybe it meant harei the zdaka. If he just says this is it, this is what you think he meant it to be like a karban. It's not just Yadayim Shem Mechiach. It's not Yadayim at all. There's no Yadayim at all because you have no idea what he means. Maybe he said this is no longer mine. Maybe he meant this is I'm giving to charity. We have no idea what he meant, and therefore it's not even a Yadayim. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. That's right, lost the place. If I had someone ask a question, we're not talking about a yad and neder. So you're right. If we're talking about a yad and neder, if he would have just said harehu, we wouldn't have the clue what he meant. So it's not even a yad. But the Mishnah here holds that this is actually the Rashi here holds that's actually a yad to a karban, and that's how people speak when it comes to karban. And because people when they say karban, this is it. So by a karban at least, this should be considered a yadayim she'ei mechichas. The word alai adds to it, makes it more mechiach, and it seems that harehu would do it. It makes you yad the karban tani. So why did it lie? Ella Abaye will say, you're right. Even if you would not say a lie, it would be a yad of a karban. Because even though it's yadayim she'ei mechiach, it's still a yad. But Alema say time with lie. The only reason is because he said halai is who aser v'chavei that he is forbidden, but his chaver is permitted. Aval Amar harehu. If he would have just said harehu, then shneim asurim. Then they both would be aser. The dilma harei hegdish kamak. Maybe he meant since it's not mechiach. What? Maybe he meant that this is hegdish. He maybe meant that this is hegdish, not that one day he might bring it to God. Maybe he meant this is hegdish, and therefore it's forbidden to everybody. By saying a lie, he's saying it's only for me. That only for me it's also for nobody else. Says the Gemara. What he said was when he says harei alai, what he's saying is this animal should be usher to me just like a karban. That's what he's saying. It should be usher to me just like a karban. So who is it usher to just like a karban? Only to me. But if you would have said harehu, which is the beginning of a sentence that people normally say for a karban, then we would say that he's saying is that it's usher to him and to anybody else because this is a karban. And that's why we need to add the word alai. But harehu, even though it's yadayim she'ei mechichas, nevertheless, it's a valid yadayim. That's what Abaye says. Meisha, another question. Harehu chatas. We said this animal should be a chatas. Harehu asham. This animal should be asham. Afa pishu chayv chatas v'asham. Even though he's chayv chatas, even though he's chayv and asham general, but he didn't say when he says harehu chatas. There are two ways of understanding what he's saying. Either he's saying that this is a chatas that I owe. or he's saying, I want to volunteer this animal as a chattas. So yedayim she'ein mechiach. It's 50-50 to be either one. So even though the circumstances maybe helps us a little bit because he owes a carbon chattas. So then he said, this is a chattas. So probably he meant this is my chattas. Lo klum. Why? Because it's yedayim she'ein mechiach. Because it could be this is over and above the chattas. I owe a chattas, true, but I also want to volunteer a chattas. Maybe he thinks he's frumer that way. Hare, but if he says Hare zu chatasi, if he said this is my chattas, or Hare zu ashami, this animal is my carbon asham, then im hayach b'chuyev rak yams. If he's not b'chuyev, he's just volunteering it. Of course, it's not chayiv. But if he was chayiv a carbon, his words are fulfilled. Clearly, to yufta l'baya, kash l'baya. Seems clearly to me there's a distinction between yedayim moichiach and yedayim when he says this is my chattas, where he says yedayim she'ein moichiach, where he just says this is a chattas. It's not so clear. Maybe you want to volunteer it. So we see yedayim she'ein does not work. Kash l'baya. No problem. I grant you that Rabbi Yehuda holds that Yedayim she'ein mechichas lo having Yedayim, and the author of the brayso is Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara. But didn't you just tell us before that even Rabbi Yehuda agrees Yedayim she'ein mechichas lo having Yedayim? It's only by get because it says in the pasuk Sefer Krisis that he demands that you should be clear what you're trying to say. So what do you say? What Rabbi Yehuda? You're telling me that the carbon is Rabbi Yehuda. There's no Rabbi Yehuda. Everyone agrees that according to you about Yedayim she'ein loy having is having Yedayim is good. So he says no. Didn't so when I ask a question about Yehuda, didn't you just say before I'm not going to Yehuda agreed with you? So Abai now changes mind because of clearly an opinion here that says Yedayim she'ein mechichas is not Yedayim, and who can it be? So it must be Rabbi Yehuda. And I was wrong when I said before Rabbi Yehuda agrees with me in all other cases. So if Abai was wrong about Rabbi Yehuda, then no probability. Rava was wrong about the Chachamim. So we go back to our original assumption that Abaye follows the Rabbanim and Rava follows Rabbi Yehuda. And Rava following Yehuda is a problem because the halacha can't be like Rabbi Yehuda, halacha will be Chachamim. Rava done Rabbi Yehuda, so therefore, just like Abaye changed his mind, probably Rava changed his mind. Rava said, I don't have to change my mind. I just told you before. I'm not damaged Rabbanim. I hold like the Rabbanim as well that Yedayim she'ein mechichas, everyone is lo have Yedayim, and only by get do the Rabbanon say that that Yedayim she'ein havi that. I get where I'm more lenient, and why? By getting more lenient. I can Rabbanon be Yedayim she'ein, get why? Because they ain't adam gadish chaveda. Nobody was somebody else's wife. It's clear what you're doing. It's not a Yedayim will learn. It's not really a Yedayim she'ein mechiach. It's Yedayim mechiach. These words are Yedayim mechiach. Nobody else divorces somebody else's wife. When you say at muteris, who are you addressing? Of course, your wife. So therefore, that's Yedayim mechiach. Or the way the Ran learns is the circumstances. But generally, the inan Yedayim mechichas. I hold the Rabban hold Yedayim mechichas, and that's what you need. Okay, says the Gemara. Abba has a general question. We're discussing now by neder, since we know that Yedayim is effective, by nazir, do you need mechichas that has to be compelling, or even ein mechichas? So we have to just interpret his words. But let me ask a general question of Papa. Yes, yad kedushin. When it comes to kedushin, is there a concept of yad at all? Or not, and why should be a question? So the Rosh says very interestingly that kedushin is just like karbonis. What does the word kedushin come from? The word kedushin comes from hegdish. As we're learning more kedushin in the beginning, the asa law akuli alma kehegdish. Asa her on everybody like hegdish. So therefore kedushin perhaps not just semantics, but actually halacha has the same thing like hegdish by karbonis, and therefore it's like a carbon Yedayim works. So to over here Yedayim works. That's the question. Or the way that Ran learns that maybe Nedarim, because Nedarim, all it is words. And look how powerful words are. You say a few words, you become if they keep your neder. By nazir, you say a few words, you become a nazir. So therefore, maybe Yedayim is also effective. When it comes to kedushin, words is not. If you say to a woman, "You're mekudesh," means nothing if you don't give her money with it. So therefore, because the words are not so powerful, maybe the only words that are effective with the money are powerful words, and Yedayim doesn't work at all. Says the Gemara, what exactly is the case of Yedayim when it comes to kedushin? Says the Gemara, hey chidami, what's the case? She says to a woman, he has two prutas in his pocket. We're learning kedushin the first Mishnah. The minimum you have to give a woman to get married is a pruta. You have two prutas in your pocket. So the Amalish, you say to a woman, Hariat mukadeshesli, you give both prutas to Leah, and you say to Leah, you are engaged to me. And then you turn around to the friend and you say, Va'at nami, and you also. So therefore, what happens is Leah and Rachel. Leah received two prutas, one pruta for herself. The other pruta, she is an agent for Rachel, and since Rachel consents, so they're both now engaged. That's not a yad. That's clear. Shita, Haini kedushin. That's not a yad. That's clear kedushin. Just because you gave the pruta for the second woman to the first woman, so what? You clearly enunciate to the second woman, you're engaged to me. With the pruta I gave to the first woman, and she's acting as your shliach, finished. Ella, for example, going to this is what happened. He gave two prutas to Leah, and he said to her, you're engaged to me. Then he turned to the friend and said, and you. But he didn't say, and you also, he just said, and you. Now, and you is not so clear. We know probably what he meant to say, but it's not so clear. It was not so clear. Maybe he meant me, did he mean and you also? So in other words, I gave Leah two prutas, one for herself and one as a shliach for you. Or and therefore she's holding the pruta for the second pruta for Rachel. Maybe what he meant was that you stand here and be a witness. Therefore, Leah, two prutas, none of them are for Rachel. That's his question. So that's a yad. So the way I just told you the way the Ran and some other Rishonim shot, the question is on the second one. According to the Rambam, the question is on the first one. You gave two prutas to Leah, and you said to what do you call it? That she's Mekudesh, that Rachel is Mekudesh to you, and then you turn back to Leah, who's holding on the prutas, and you say Ba'at and you. And the question is on Leah. What would it then be then? Because definitely Leah is acting as a shliach for Rachel, so she's already a shliach for Rachel. And we say, and you, do we say, and now you're no longer a shliach, this is for yourself, or ba'at, you should be a witness? In other words, the Rambam seems to be learning, but the first the way the Ran learns, is definitely they're both mekudesh. Anyway, so the Gemara, so that's a question. Is there yad by kedushin at all or not? Even if it's compelling, is there yad or not? So the Gemara, me by Papa, is that a question that Papa asks? In Gemara kedushin, when we have the whole discussion about your dying. Papa is discussing there with one of the teachers of Abaya. And he said there, me Sava Shmuel, does Shmuel actually hold Yadayim She'em Mechichas Have Yadayim? How can you tell me that Shmuel holds that Yadayim She'em Mechichas Have Yadayim? And in our Gemara we learn clearly Shmuel holds Yadayim She'em Have Yadayim. And he's asking the question. That means it seems from there that Yadayim definitely works by Kedushin. The only question is whether you need Mechiach or not. Miklau Desvila Papa Diashal Kedushin. So what's he asking over here? Says the Gemara, no, that's no proof. We omit the word mechada. He's saying Shmuel holds his yad by kedushin. So I'm asking a question. Shmuel seems to contradict himself whether you need yadayim mechichas or not. But me personally, I don't even know if there's a yad by kedushin. Forget mechichas, not mechichas. Personally, I don't know. Is there a yad by kedushin? And he doesn't answer the question. But later on, the Rishonim say that whenever you have one question leading into another question, it's as if we're assuming the answer is whatever the next question is. The next question is based on the answer to the first question, and we're continuing. It's as if we already assume that the answer is yes, there is yad by kedushin. Okay, you tell me yad by kedushin. Let me ask the next question. Boy, Papa, there's a question. What about yes yad lepeya and yad lepeya? Is there yad by peya? Peya, you have to leave the corner of the field for the poor. Is there a yad by peya or is there no yad by peya? What's the case over there? Hey, chidami, what exactly is the case? Where does yad come into peya? And the way somebody's trying here is the question as follows: if there's no yad by kedushin, because kedushin has nothing to do with nedarim, what about peya? That peya is compared to nedarim. What happens then? Or others on the other way around. Since kedushin, by kedushin there is yad because it's like hekdesh and so on. What about by peya? So Gemara explains what's exactly the question. If he said hadin ugya, this furrow, leheve peya, this corner should be peya, the hadei nami, and this also points to another area, and this also, then what's the question? Are you pay mal? You say it's not a yad. You clearly spelled out that should be peya as well. He's saying this other field should be peya. That's it. And some say ugi means an entire field, not just a corner of the field. So it obviously means that the why shouldn't it be? The Ran learns that ugi means just a row, and he's talking about now the rest of the field. And around each row, they used to make a little ridge so that the water would sit there and accumulate, and so on. If he said clearly, and that other region also should be paid, that's it. It's paid. He said, and this. He didn't say also. Now, and what did he mean by that? Before we go on, the Gemara seems to say, when you give peya, you said as I pay, there's a din how much a pay you have to give, the corner of your field. So it sounds like you gave the corner of your field. And now you're saying the rest of the field should be peya. you point to the rest of the field. It seems to be telling us that there's no law that says that payah must only be a corner. If you want, you can give the entire field and turn it into payah. That's what it seems. Because if, let's say, the initial amount you set aside wasn't enough to fulfill the mitzvah payah, then there's no shiloh. You have to give more payah. So, of course, the whatever other area you're giving has to be payah. Must be that the first section you set aside was already, you fulfilled the din of payah. But then you said hadain, and we will know how to understand that, which means that you can give more than the share of payah. You want to give the entire field to payah. So the Gemara, so Gemara said, first the Gemara digresses. It seems clear for me that if you say the entire field to payah, it is payah. Gemara says yes. Because Latanya, in fact, I'll prove it to you. We learned the Braisa and how do we know? She read the last a course today pay. You make it time to pay. You can't. It says in the pasuk that when you harvest your field, do not destroy the corner of your field. And therefore we learn from there. It says sadcha. Because it says sadcha as well, we say it could be the entire sadcha, entire field. In other words, it seems to be saying if you started harvesting a field, don't cut down the corner of the field. But if you didn't start harvesting a field, you want to give the entire field away, you can. So the Gemara says, okay, now go back to the question. So what exactly is the question of payah? What are the two ways of understanding when you say this corner is payah and this? What are the two ways? Do we say, Kiv the iskish kabonas? Do we say that since payah is compared to kabonas, ma kabonas, yesh yad, just like kabonas has a yad, we learned before. Af payah yesh yad. So we said before, harei zeh harei yehu is considered yad and there's a yad by carbon. So payah also the yad. A dilma ki iskish lebal to achra the iskish. Maybe it's limited that we're only limited to them, just like a carbon has the din of bal to achra. So too by payah, you're not allowed to delay. You have to bring it out on time. But the other dinim. Even though we have a rule, ein hekesh lemachza, that you don't, once you compare, you compare in every respect. But over here, because it's not mefurish in the pasuk, that pay is compared to carbon, so therefore we don't say that. And maybe it's only limited to the law about the acher, but there's no yad, so you say and this is, you didn't complete the sentence, it's a yad. And maybe there's no yad at all at pay, even though we know what you mean. You're looking at the corner of a field and you say this is pay and this. Obviously we know what you mean. What else can you mean? But because it's not a complete sentence, it's only a handle, it's a yad, and maybe there's no yad by pay. The heiche iskish, and where do we find that we would compare payah to a carbon? The Tanya, we're looking to be learned in a Braisa. It says in the pasuk, if you make an edit to Hashem, don't delay paying it off. It says, Hashem, we learned before, is talking about carbon chatois and carbon hashamas, that you shouldn't delay. And then when it says Hashem the Eibusha from you, and what's that referring to? From you personally. And that is zeh leket shikha payah. So we say that the pasuk me'imach is referring to leket shikha payah. Dorish yidashanu is chatas asham. Siddur neder is nedarim and nedavos. So we see that payah is compared to a carbon. So maybe even though the pasuk only talks about loisa achel l'shamay, don't delay. Maybe it also includes yad, or maybe not. Okay, we'll stop over here.